Hi, this is Frode, and welcome back to Actualize Notes TV. Today we have another great book, The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. The Daily Stoic, subtitle, 366 Meditations on Wisdom, Perseverance, and the Art of Living. Ryan Holiday is one of my favorite Stoic teachers, among Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, but they lived a couple of thousand years ago, so he's my favorite modern Stoic teacher. And he has also written the books Ego is the Enemy and The Obstacle is the Way. So you can check out those if you want to. We're doing a lot of Stoicism these days. And yeah, by the way, I'm in the process of moving out. So I don't have my whiteboard. So we'll have to do with my computer at the time being. Anyway, this is a great book, which, as the subtitle suggests, features 366 meditations on wisdom, perseverance, and the art of living. So it's meant you're meant to read one of these pages each day, these small nuggets of wisdom. But I inhaled the book in a couple of days, and I loved it, because I'm really into Stoicism. And the Stoics was not this glum group of people who tried to limit all their emotions and try to feel nothing. They were more like they were trying to limit the negative, unnecessary emotions that just destroy the quality of our lives. And they came up with these techniques, great techniques, to limit negative feelings and maximize the good ones. Not in a hedonistic way, but in a more eudaimonic way, meaning long-term pleasure. So, let's just get started with the first big idea. The number one practice. So the number one practice of Stoicism is distinguishing between the things that we can't control and the things we can control. William B. Irvine talks about this in his book, A Guide to the Good Life. And he actually splits it up into three parts. What we can't control, what we can control, and what we can control to some extent. For example, we can't control the weather, we can't control the goals we set, and we can control to some extent whether we win a tennis match. And the number one practice is to distinguish between these and act accordingly. So what is one thing that you can't control at all, and therefore it's best to let it go? For example, the news, what weather it is, what somebody else says. And you can control your response. I gave you a little hint there. And by the way, in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey talks about the circle of influence. And it's basically the same model. We all have a large circle of concern around our lives, which includes our relationship, our health, our businesses, and the weather, and everything that affects us. And then, within that circle of concern, are all the things that we can control and cannot. And within the circle of influence, which is within our circle of concern, lies everything that we can control and influence. And Stephen says that you can assess a person's proactivity much by what he chooses to focus his attention and time and energy on, his circle of influence or his circle of concern. When we get closer and closer to focusing only on those things within our circle of concern, for a circle of influence, not everything else, which we can't control. A bit of a meandering look at the number one practice. And this one is from Epictetus, by the way. The number one rule. Alright, the second big idea is euthymia. This one is from Seneca. And euthymia is basically a Greek word for tranquility, which means to have this calm serenity. And Ryan tells us that, Seneca tells us, that it's basically a belief that you are on the right path, and you know where you're going, without caring about all the other myriad footpaths that are traveling across your way. In other words, you know that you have chosen a direction in your life, and you're not distracted by what everyone else around you are doing. You are confident that you're on the right path, or at least that you have chosen your own path, consciously. And this whole idea reminds me of the idea of run your own race, which Todd Henry talks about in his book, Louder Than Words. And he basically says that you need to run your own race, because we all have unique skills, interests, passions, and life experiences. So we all have our own race to run. So that begs the question, what is your race? I'm running mine right now, so and I dig it. Our third big idea is wise people. I think it's this one is from Seneca. And by the way, all of these are 366 meditations from the most known Stoics: Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius, and also some other less known Stoics. This one I think is from Seneca, as I said. And he tells us that without a ruler, you can't make crooked straight. And the basic idea is that if you don't have wise people around you in your life, or you don't read books from wise people, or immerse yourself in the wisdom of wise people, then you won't know how to make yourself straight and your life straight. So Ryan advises us to find a few wise people, or have someone to measure ourselves against, who can show us what's wise to do and what's wise not to do. Seneca actually says it's good to see what the wise people run away from and what they run towards, because that's a good sign that we also want to do that in order to be happy in our lives. And this reminds me of the idea from Austin Kleon in his book Steal Like an Artist. And it talks about this spiritual family tree that we can build for ourselves. We can actually choose our parents, kind of, spiritually, by choosing one thinker, artist, or a painter or a sculptor that we really admire, and try to learn everything we can about that person. Then, when you have done that, pretty much learned everything about that person, you go out into the 3 people that person loved and learn everything about them. And as we do this as many times as possible, we can start building our own branch in the tree of life. So, who's the wise person you're going to measure yourselves against? Our fourth big idea is, I don't care. This is one of my favorite ideas ever. Ryan says something like this, that one of the most important, powerful things you can do is do in this hyper-connected 24/7 so media world is to say, I don't know. Or more provocatively, I don't care. Because who cares about everything that goes on about in the news? And every new acclaimed television show? Really, all of those things don't really have any practical application to our lives. So why consume all of that? So if somebody comes and asks you if you know what happened in the news, or if you're watching the latest acclaimed television show, you could say, I don't know. Or more provocatively, I don't care. This reminds me of an idea David Wolf talks about in his book Self-Discipline, Become a Greek Spartan. And he says that I take immense pride in not knowing certain things when other people mention them. And I just love that. Take immense pride in not knowing certain things. And Ryan calls this cultivated ignorance. Choosing not to know the things that don't have any practical application to your life. And by the way, Ryan poses a great question. Which would help your children the most? Your insights into meaning and happiness? Or the fact that you watched every breaking news story for the last 30 years? It's worth a thought. Our fifth big idea is boxing. This one is from the Stoic teacher Epictetus. And he in his quote he talks about how philosophy is here to help us prepare for life. Because philosophy is really the knowledge of how to live. And in the summary it says that running away from challenges would be something like running out of the ring in a boxing match because you get hit. And Ryan says, what kind of boxer are you if you leave the ring because you get hit? That's the nature of the sport. And the Greeks actually had something called pankration, which literally means all strength, which is much like the martial arts of the UFC, but it's more pure. And he thinks that that is where Epictetus got this idea from. But anyway, this when I recorded this idea today, when I read my note, I actually considered not doing this video that I'm doing right now. And because I started getting uncomfortable, I was a bit tired, but I chose to do it anyway. And here we are. Because what kind of boxer are you if you leave from the ring of life because you get hit when you face challenges? Think about that. As you say, I don't care when people ask you about the latest news story or the latest television shows. You're too immersed into following your own path, euthymia in life, as you watch what wise people do and what they don't do, so you can measure yourself against them. And you always remember the number one practice of Stoicism. Distinguish between the things that you can't control and those you can. And spend more of your time and attention and energy on what you can control. Alright, this is a quick look at the Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. Thank you, Ryan. Highly recommend the book. Now, think about the idea that really resonated with you the most. Because that's really all I'm trying to do here. To uncover the potential that is already within you. Those things that really resonate with you. So you can try to embody those ideas a bit more into your life. By the way, this is an idea I got from Abraham Maslow, my spiritual great-great-great-granddaddy, and who came up with the hierarchy of needs. And he said that when you teach people about things, you shouldn't do it like in the way that, from the perspective that I need to teach you things that you are too stupid to know, kind of way. But instead, I am here to uncover your potential and give you the tools you need to do it, kind of way. In the sense that you're an older brother. We'll talk more about that in his book, Farther Reaches of Human Nature. But now, what's the one idea that resonated most with you? Think about how you can apply it more consistently to your life starting today. And then, think about the one small step you can take towards embodying a small idea. I just did mine, recorded this idea. I didn't leave the ring when I got hit.